So I've worked with 3812 for a number of years, and I think it's very professionally run. It's very trustworthy as a gallery, and it's got a very smart team. I also think because it's international in its scope, so it works, you work with Hong Kong, London, China, and it's got quite a global reach, I'd say, yeah. And it's also quite forward thinking as a gallery. So I think thinking ahead to the new building, the location and the rebrand. I think it's always very dynamic in the way that it's responding to the times and thinking about how to stay relevant and, also very loyal to the idea of supporting artists who are both emerging but also older generation. Yeah, I think, the idea of moving into this amazing building, the Whiteley, is really interesting for the gallery because it's a very historic building with this amazing story as the first department store in London, which I think really is, it stands out as a building that's been completely regenerated, and in that area of London I think that's going to have quite a big impact. So the other thing I wanted to think about in this was that, 3812 is quite smart to place itself within this setting of a kind of integral space with a very high spec for design, for retail, for a hotel, because in London there are certain areas with galleries. I think it'll stand out in that location. The idea of working with Asian artists is really important to me, and the programming for that gallery, particularly with Chinese artists coming to show work in London, so for example Ma Sheng or Stanley Wong, that will be really significant and bring lots of interest from Chinese communities but also Asian communities to pay attention to that category, which I think many people living in London will be very interested in seeing these kind of artists and understanding more about their practice and more about their histories as well. I think 3812 is very unique. I think it stands out because of the programming, as I said, but I think the focus on modern and contemporary art by artists from both international artists but also artists from East Asia and maybe other parts of Asia. But I think these things are really, there's a lot of scope for expansion of that kind of programming in London, and this positioning, the rebrand, will really enable this field of modern and contemporary in the Asian context to really gain more depth in the field for, amongst other galleries. I think it'll stand out because there's quite a lot of antiquities dealing in London, the old school, dealers in Mayfair, and there's a history of that in London, but there haven't been that many galleries focusing on modern and contemporary. And also because, this is a growing field in China. So for example, modern ink painting, is a very big growing field. So the program with somebody like Ma Sheng will help situate and contextualize this very rich history of migration from China with important artists from the 20th century and up to today, artists who've lived abroad for many years or have their own unique kind of, cultural histories. So I think that makes it stand out a lot, but amongst the within the contemporary art field, 3812 will be, has this distinct program, and I think it should gain a strong following once it gets established in the new location. Yeah, I'd love to express my really warmest wishes to Calvin and the whole team for doing such an amazing job at developing this new space, and just wishing everyone a huge amount of luck and best wishes for the coming programme, and especially for the opening.